They say, don't be too nice, people will take advantage of you. Or, don't give too much, you'll get hurt. We hear it so often, it begins to sound like wisdom. But what if, it's not goodness that gets people hurt? What if the real damage comes from something quieter, not knowing where your boundary ends and someone else's begins? Not being too generous, too loyal, too kind, but being unaware of where those strengths stop serving you and start costing you. Because the truth is, you don't get hurt by being too good. You get hurt by not knowing your limits. And once you see the difference, your entire story can change. Let's look closer. Many of us were raised to believe being good means saying yes, avoiding conflict, always being available. In childhood, this was rewarded. A good child didn't ask too many questions. Didn't push back. Didn't disappoint. But here's the thing, what we often called good, was really just compliant. It wasn't about authenticity, it was about safety. And when you carry that into adulthood, it creates a distorted relationship with your own worth. You start equating value with usefulness, with being needed, with being pleasing. You become a chameleon, constantly adjusting to fit what others expect. Not because you're fake, but because somewhere along the line, you forgot to ask yourself, where do I end? What do I need? Being good isn't the problem. Not knowing the line between giving and self-erasure is. Kindness without boundaries becomes self-sacrifice. Loyalty without discernment becomes a trap. And generosity without self-awareness becomes a performance, not a gift. So the first shift is this. Don't stop being good. Start being clear. Imagine trying to drive without a fuel gauge. You wouldn't know when to refuel, until the car breaks down. That's what living without limits is like. We push ourselves, in relationships, in work, in emotional labor, thinking we're doing the right thing. But we're often running on empty. And the breakdown doesn't come with warning lights. It comes with resentment. Burnout. Emotional collapse. Here's a paradox. The more you ignore your limits, the less of your goodness others actually receive. Because your energy becomes strained. Your patience becomes thin. Your giving becomes resentful. True boundaries aren't walls, they're valves. They regulate flow. They help you give without depletion. When you don't know your limits, people won't magically guess them. They'll take what you offer, and sometimes more, not because they're bad, but because you didn't signal enough. And then you'll blame them, when the real fracture happened inside, when you didn't listen to yourself. So ask. Where am I leaking energy in the name of being a good person? And is that kindness, or conditioning? We often confuse boundaries with rejection. But what if limits aren't a rejection of others, but a deeper acceptance of yourself? Think of a garden. It doesn't grow because the plants spread endlessly. It grows because each plant has space. Borders. Careful pruning. Balance. Your inner life is no different. Without boundaries, you overextend. You overpromise. You begin to break silently under the weight of unspoken obligations. But here's the deeper truth. You can't love well without limits. Because love without self-respect becomes martyrdom. Help without pause becomes enabling. Presence without rest becomes absence of self. Real goodness, the kind that lasts, starts with containment. When you say no with clarity, you say yes to your deeper values. When you step back, you create space for mutual respect. When you set limits, you teach others how to treat you, and you model something powerful, integrity. So the next time you feel the tension between giving and breaking, ask yourself, is this love, or is this fear of being unloved? Because the most generous thing you can sometimes do, is to pause. Let's talk about burnout. Not the flashy kind that comes after 80-hour workweeks. I'm talking about the invisible kind, emotional burnout. From being the emotional anchor, the fixer, the peacekeeper. It's subtle, slow. You start feeling like the world asks too much, but you're too proud, or too scared, to ask for space. So you keep giving. You say, "I'm fine," when you're unraveling. You show up, even when you're exhausted. You suppress your own needs, because they need me more. And then one day, you shut down. Sometimes, good people crash the hardest. Because they're carrying weight no one can see, and often, weight no one asked them to carry in the first place. Sometimes, good people crash the hardest. Because they're carrying weight no one can see, and often, weight no one asked them to carry in the first place. Self-care isn't selfish. It's system maintenance. And rest isn't a reward, it's required. So the next time you feel guilt creeping in when you want to say, no, remind yourself. You're not here to be consumed. You're here to contribute, and that requires fuel. What if you've been good all along, just not in the way people told you to be? Not the agreeable at all costs good. Not the always says yes good. But the kind of good that tells the truth, even when it's hard. The kind of good that knows when to walk away. That can say, "I love you, but I can't do this anymore." Because here's the secret no one tells you. Goodness isn't about pleasing. It's about presence. Being grounded. Being real. Being whole. That might mean disappointing people who only loved the version of you that served their needs. It might mean risking disapproval. Or discomfort. But it also means something else, something powerful. Peace. When you start honoring your limits, you don't become less kind. You become cleaner. More truthful. More aligned. So maybe it's not about being too good. Maybe it's about becoming deeply good. The kind of good that includes yourself in the equation. The kind of good that knows where to stop, so that what you give is true. You don't have to stop being kind. But you do have to stop abandoning yourself in the process. The people who thrive in the long run, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, are not the ones who give the most. They're the ones who know how much they can give, and when to step back. So the next time you feel yourself reaching your edge, pause. That edge isn't failure. It's feedback. It's not saying, "You're not good enough." It's asking, "Can you be good to yourself too?" If this made you see your limits differently, or reminded you of your worth, let it sit with you. And if it brought something valuable to your inner world today, give it a like, or share a thought below. Your clarity might just be what someone else needs to hear. Until next time, be kind. Be wise. Be whole.